Good evening. I will now call the May 12th, 2026 meeting of the Ben Lapine School Board of Directors to order. I would like to introduce our participants this evening. To my immediate left, Vice Chair Amy Tatum, Directors Cameron Fisher, Ross Tomlin, Jen Lynch, and Shirley Olson, and Director Keena Chadwick is joining virtually. To my immediate right, Superintendent Dr. Stephen Cook, Deputy Superintendent Dr. Lisa Burke, and Board Clerk Janet Bojanowski, and I'm Marcus LeGrand, Chair of the Board. We also have student representatives joining us this evening. Will you please introduce yourselves?
Hello, I'm Brendan Medina from Mountain View High School.
And I'm Deep Pressure from Bend High School.
All right, thank you all for being here. Appreciate it very, very much. In order to ensure safety and ability for the board to focus on the business, we ask that all the audience members adhere to the board meeting and attendee expectations. This includes being seated and holding signs on the chin level. If there are any available seats, please, individual may wait in the lobby until one is available. And I know we're close to that. So now, at this time, will people please remove your hats and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now move to agenda item number 3, review of the agenda. Dr. Cook, are any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. Fellow board members, are there any changes to the agenda? All right, hearing no requests for changes, we will proceed to the agendas as noticed. And we're going to now go to agenda item number 4, which is district recognitions. Dr. Cook?
All right, thank you, Chair LeGrand. This is a very exciting meeting for us. And we get to recognize our Student Voice Council members that are graduating in 2026. So our high school graduation ceremonies are less than a month away. We prepare to celebrate the class of 2026. The board and the superintendent and administration would like to thank the 8 seniors on the Student Voice Council. Members of this group worked with their peers to collect and share ideas about policy with us, the board of directors, high school principals, and others. You've seen them at our board meetings reporting on what they've been working on, what issues are meaningful to students, and engaging with our board on important district business and important dialogue. I'm so very proud to introduce them to you tonight. The first 3 will receive diplomas from Caldera High School on June 6th. So if you're here, would you please come up so we can take a photograph? I'll call you up. First, Kayla Brandon. Kayla has been an instrumental leader in the Sources of Strength program and has facilitated community events to promote mental health education. She has coordinated poetry slams and other events focused around student and staff sharing their voices. In the fall, Kayla will attend Bushnell University in Eugene. Next is Clara Kowalski. Clara will attend the University of Wisconsin after earning her honors diploma from Caldera. Clara has participated in student government and enjoys being involved in the activities that are helping to shape and change her school community. Next up, Samuel Brooksbank. Samuel is the president of the Caldera DECA Club and active in the Business CTE program of study. He's also the school secretary general of the Model United Nations Club. Next year, he will attend the University of Oregon to study criminal justice. The next student, please acknowledge, he cannot attend tonight, but could we give a round of applause for Brody Smith? Brody will be accepting his diploma from Lapine High School on June 5th. Brody has done an outstanding job of gathering student perspectives at Lapine High. This fall, he will attend the Oregon Institute of Technology in Klamath Falls. Another round of applause for Brody. Next up, representing Mountain View High School, Brendan Medina. Brendan will graduate from Mountain View High School on June 4th. Brendan is a thoughtful student who creates a welcoming space for all. His time working on 2 radio shows at Horizon Broadcasting has led him to study broadcasting at Washington State University beginning this fall. Nice job, Brendan. Next up from Realms High School, Ben Schnurr. Ben is a force of joy and creative energy. Come over here. He's also a leader outside of school as the mechanical captain of the Oregon Solar Car Team. His bright energy will be missed when he heads to Central Oregon Community College next year. Nice job, Ben. Next up, Essie Voles from Summit High School. Essie will be graduating from Summit on the evening of June 6th. Essie has been a remarkable leader for us, a strong student athlete, and a dedicated student voice council member. Essie heads to Howard University in Washington, D.C. to study elementary education. Yes!
HU, you know?
And last but not least, Caroline Dersch. Caroline is also graduating from Summit High School. Her leadership and input has helped Student Voice Council make meaningful adjustments with new systems and structures. This fall, she heads to Chapman University in Orange, California, to study biology with a pre-med focus. Seniors, please, thank you all for paving the way for future students to have a seat at this table. The work you have done matters tremendously. Thank you for listening to your peers and bringing what you've learned in our schools to the board and to our executive team. I hope you know that the powerful legacy you leave behind is important, and we wish you all growth and success in your future. One more round of applause for them all. Okay. Do you want a photo? All right, you got to come back. We got to take a picture. Why don't we get the board around here too? Come on, you guys, come on. This is a Student Voice Council. This is everybody's group. Come on, let's. You be kind of in the front. Here, I'll stand in the back. Tall people in back. You guys rock. All right, nice job, everyone. All right, next up, we have another celebration. We're going to be celebrating our champion for students for May of 2026. Could we please get Jeff Johnson to come up to the front of the room? All right, I am so honored to present this month's Champion for Students Award to a special member of the Innsworth Elementary community, custodian Jeff Johnson, also known as Mr. Jeff. He's been supporting Innsworth for more than 5 years. His nomination came from parent Melissa Hunter, who shared, "Mr. Jeff is the reason my son goes to school. He is Ryan's safe person and his school grandpa, as we like to say. That doesn't feel bad to be called grandpa, right? Okay. I'm a grandpa, so I think that's cool. Having at least one person that understands, encourages, and laughs with Ryan, even when things are hard, means everything to me as a mom." Assistant Principal Anna Park also shared, "Since the start, Mr. Jeff has been a ray of sunshine on our students, staff, and site. He is always helpful and joyful with students, helping kindergartners carry their breakfast to class, working with student helpers, setting up for recess, and meeting with students who need to connect. He is essential on snowy days, getting the playground ready, keeping our cafeteria clean, and so much more. Mr. Jeff makes Innsworth a better place, not just because of his hard work and attention to detail, because of the joyful connection and times he takes with students." All right, Jeff Johnson, in recognition of your care and dedication to the Innsworth Elementary community as the school custodian, you are a trusted source of comfort and connection. for countless students offering understanding, encouragement, and joy. Whether helping kindergartners carry breakfast, preparing spaces for learning, or creating meaningful moments of belonging, your presence uplifts everyone around you. You build positive relationships and support students with patience and heart, making Innsworth Elementary a better place. Let's have a round of applause for Jeff. Go. Let's get all right. Okay. Right here. There we go.
Go Coyotes.
One more round of applause for Jeff. Nice job, Jeff. All right. That's it for our recognitions for tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. And we will now hear from our student representatives. Who's going first, Dee, or is it going to be Brandon?
Good evening. As you've heard already, I'm Dee Pressure from Bend High School.
And I'm Brendan Medina from Mountain View High School. At our last Student Voice Council meeting, we updated each other on our focus topic coalitions. These groups, again, are school to career readiness, sustainability, mental health, school climate and belonging, and the inequities for Lapine High School. In addition to this, we mentioned the CTE night that happened at Caldera this past month and was a big success. And we also talked about the Sources Fair that happened in the last month, and that also was a big success as well.
We've recently put up Student Voice Council posters in all of the high schools with a way to contact us with any issues that students have been having. We've already gotten some feedback, and we've discussed this feedback and a plan for dealing with anything that comes up in the future.
Also, in the past month, we visited a few middle schools that we represent and asked students to share their experiences with us. A lot of students really like the unique classes being offered at the middle schools right now. They also like the opportunities and the supportive staff members at all of their middle schools. However, the big issue a lot of students had with their middle schools was the culture, and they also talked about a lot of bullying being a significant issue. Many students also expressed a want for more flexible schedules as well at the middle schools.
At Ben High specifically, we've been working to better meet student needs by operating our own Student Voice Council, which was created at the beginning of the year. As a member of the Ben High SVC myself, I found that working directly with admin is really helpful in increasing knowledge of student needs and fixing school-specific issues. Similarly, we have a form with student information, or opportunities for students to contact SVC representatives with any questions or comments they may have. And it's really improved how information has been communicated within our school.
Thank you so much for listening to our voices this year and listening to our perspective, and we look forward to working with you in future years.
I want to thank you for the report, and again, I want to thank you all, the Student Voice Council, your coordinators as well, for all the hard work you all have done so far. We appreciate it very, very much, and continue to give us information and insight to what's going on in the schools. We appreciate it so, so much. Thank you. All right. Now we're going to be going to public comment, is what we're going to be going to next. The Board of Directors, leadership, values, communication from students, families, staff, and community. Members, it helps to guide the work of the Ben Lapine schools. Public comment is just one of the many avenues available to ensure this connection. Members of the public may always submit thoughts, questions, and concerns to the board via email or as well as in writing. Individual board members also make themselves available for phone, video, and in-person conversations. Excuse me, I'm gonna have some water really quick in my throat. This said, I want to remind the public, while this is a meeting of the Board of Directors that takes place in public, it is not a meeting with the public. It is a meeting with the board to conduct district business. As such, the board will not respond to public comments made during tonight's meeting. Instead, issues may be recorded and referred to the proper staff member to follow up with you. We will now open up for public comment. This is the one piece I want y'all to listen to really carefully. Our policy is to typically allow up to 2 minutes per speaker on a maximum of 10 minutes per agendized items. So, is looking at how many people we have in the room is probably over that number. So we're only gonna get a few. I'm just gonna be honest with you right off the bat. and 10 minutes in total for all non-agendized items. So we have some agendized items and some non-agendized items, just to let you know. So it's only 10 minutes for each, all right? A timer is provided on a large screen to ensure every speaker receives updates during the presentation on the remaining time. If the speaker goes over time, or if the speaker message is not in adherence with our policies, for example, being personally directed, abusive, discriminatory, repetitive, or off topic, I may ask the speaker to cease and terminate that speaker's privilege to address the board. And this doesn't have to come from just me as the chair, it can come from any of the board members here on this dais, or even the students themselves, all right? At this time, I would like to call James Trazadell. Is that correct? James, is he online? Okay, all right. No James. Okay. Next, Jamie Johnson. No. Yes, yeah, just that's what I'm trying to figure out exactly. You have this. Are you going to speak right now, or are you going to have? Because you can't give away your right to let someone else speak unless they're on the list. You want to waive that right to someone else? Yeah, let's go to the next.
We
on
go to the
list.
next name on the list if you're
Right.
waiving your right to talk.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Cameron Lafayette? Or Carmen Lafayette, excuse me. Thank you. I want to pronounce that correctly.
Hello, my name is Carmen. I'm a single mom, a social work grad student, and I work as an advocate at a local nonprofit. I also worked as a substitute teacher in this district for 2.5 years. I have 2 children in the district. My son is a 6th grader at Pilot Butte Middle School, and my daughter is a 5th grader at Juniper Elementary. But today I'm here as a parent. Since kindergarten, my neurodivergent son has experienced repeated removal from class, public embarrassment, and failure at school. That kind of experience affects a child's confidence and self-worth. No child should internalize school as a place where they constantly feel like they are failing. Recently, his emotional distress escalated to the point where we had to go to the emergency room for suicidal ideation. This is what can happen when kids don't feel safe, supported, or successful in their learning environments. Too often, students are placed in environments they cannot regulate in, then punished when those environments overwhelm them. What I'm seeing is that the current model is not working for kids like my son. While staff are doing their best, they are stretched too thin to provide the level of proactive support many students need. This district does have a program, the Ed Center, that is designed for students like my son, and we're hopeful about it, but it's a temporary program, and there aren't any structured long-term options for students who need that kind of environment. Kids like my son need consistent, structured environments where they can feel safe, regulated, and successful over time. As a single parent, I've had to take paid leave from work just to manage school calls, meetings, and making sure my son is supported. Families should not have to step away from their jobs just to ensure their child can access a safe and appropriate public education. Thank you.
Carmen, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. All right. You have that? Okay. All right.
Because the student deferred, you could call a student to replace next, whoever's next on the list.
Yeah, no problem. Got it. That's what I was thinking as well. Okay, cool. Grace Brooke. Leo Jones. Okay. All righty. Yeah, I know, I'm going. Brenda Jarvis. Okay.
Is this ready to go?
Yep.
All right. I'm here to ask for your help to get YouTube removed from all student-accessible devices and computers. I've sent a couple of emails previously. My son is a sophomore at Summit High School. He's been diagnosed with internet disorder. He also has an IEP that specifies use of technology for support in writing and getting his thoughts on paper. Per doctor's recommendation, and to keep him safe from self-harm, we must ensure he has no access to YouTube short-form videos. This is easy at home. We are able to block access to the devices. This has been impossible at school. This is because the only control available is the basic Apple screen time control. Screen time does not allow for whitelisting of YouTube videos. Therefore, if a student is required to watch a YouTube video and it is shorter than the time limit provided, that student can watch pretty much anything until the timer expires. This control is also only available on the student's iPad if the parent or a teacher has it set up. If the student uses a desktop, that same student can watch YouTube all day. In order to adhere to his treatment plan for no YouTube short format videos, he no longer takes his iPad to school. He is not allowed to access desktop computers at school. While this keeps him safe, it also prevents him from having access to the technology specified in his IEP to complete work while at school. 2 months ago, at the school board meeting, I heard that the #1 disciplinary issue is kids accessing content on the internet that they shouldn't. I don't understand why access to YouTube continues to be allowed, or worse, requiring students to view YouTube content, especially when there's no ability to limit access to only whitelisted or required YouTube content. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jarvis. Appreciate it very, very much. Our next speaker is Scott Breeze. Okay.
Hi, good evening. My name is Scott Brees. I'm a Ben Lapine student parent who's graduated 4 students out of Summit High School. I'm also the founder of Connect Central Oregon. Ben Lapine produces extraordinary sports talent, and this community celebrates that well. Tonight, I want to briefly acknowledge that these schools are also producing world-class results in programs that don't always get the same spotlight, programs that are built on the foundation that this board invests in, years of investment in Project Lead the Way and other CTE programs. This spring, both Summit's Chaos Theory and Mountain View's High Desert Droids, Oregon's oldest robotics program at this level, advanced to the Pacific Northwest Championship. Summit came in came in ahead, leading the entire Pacific Northwest, and ended that event being the #1, having beat last year's world champion. As they advanced to the World Championship, they competed against 600 teams at 66 countries, and there they completed something that has never been done before. They won the Industrial Design Award, and they had swept that award across every event they've entered. In the entire history of that program, it's never been done. I'm proud to say I co-founded this program alongside Charlotte Van Valkenburg and Jeanette Haynes. You know Charlotte. Charlotte built something extraordinary. These results carry her legacy forward. Connect Central Oregon exists to make sure programs and achievements like this don't go unnoticed, and to build the public and private partnerships to make sure that they keep Central Oregon kids connected to Central Oregon opportunities. That's why I'm here. The road ahead has some natural transitions: graduating seniors, dedicated coaches, teachers moving on, and a budget environment we all feel. We're moving and we're growing. We're moving into drone racing and other programs. This spring, our student producers are actually helping with the graduations across Redmond School District, Central Oregon colleges, and again from Mountain View and Lapine. So look for those students out there helping run the programs. A follow-up is coming via email tonight, but again, wanted to say thank you for your time. And I hit my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Breeze. Appreciate it very, very much. Okay. Our next speaker is Melissa Barnes-Delakia.
Thank you so much. Thank you, administration, board of directors, Student Voice Council. for all of your service for our community. I too am here in service of a community, and that's Bend International School. Can you please rise if you're here with us tonight, Bend International School? Thank you. We are here today. Many of you have heard from us already. You've received emails. But the thing is that public comment is the one opportunity that we have to make transparent the discussions that we are having through email, et cetera, through our MOU process. And so we are here to advocate for our school publicly and transparently. We are so thankful for our renewal for another 5 years. We're doing great work, and we're happy to be part of the portfolio of schools in Ben Lapine. However, we had 180 days to negotiate an MOU after that. We spent a year and a half negotiating that MOU, talking behind closed doors about how perhaps with an equity lens, Ben Lapine might be able to pass through more funds than they're legally obligated to do. As we've heard in the Budget Committee this morning, the district is strapped. That's not an option. I wish it was, because we contribute $1.1 million to the district through our students. What I want to say is that we didn't, and we've made peace with that, what we didn't expect was an MOU including a staffing plan that said that we were going to have to give up our full-time employee, Janine Lucas, our learning specialist, and that we would no longer have the current MOU that we have right now that says Ben Lapine Schools recognizes it is in the best interest of students for us to hire our own learning specialist. It is a full-time employee. It is a person that is integrated in our community, and taking that away from us disrupts the learning environment for the kids that need it the most. The kids that are suffering the most have the largest achievement gap in the district, and that's our students with special needs. Thank you.
All right, I want to thank everyone for their public comment tonight. I appreciate it very, very much. Like I said, if you did not get to speak tonight, please make sure that you send any correspondence to us via email so we can definitely have it, so we can get it addressed, because we definitely make sure that it gets to the staff that are appropriate to be able to handle that. All right, appreciate it very, very much. And now we're going to move to agenda item number 7, and this is consent agenda. We will now move to the consent agenda. Is there any discussion regarding the documents in the consent agenda? All right. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right, it was a motion by Director Tomlin and second by Director Fisher. Thank you. At this time, any discussion for this motion? All right, now I will call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? I know Cameron was an aye, I heard. Keena, excuse me, sorry. Keena was an aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thank you very much. Okay. Now we'll pass it over to Dr. Cook for a consent for information.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair LeGrand. In your consent for information packet this month, you have an update to policy AC-AR, discrimination complaint procedure. We've added language to align with the guidance from the Oregon Department of Education and the Office of Civil Rights. Additionally, you also have follow-up comments from questions that were received at last board meeting, and also the annual report on Executive Limitation 4.5, student transportation. Glad to entertain any questions if you might have any.
Directors, do you have any questions? All right, thank you. And now, thank you, Dr. Cook. We'll now hear from Dr. Karen Russ, Executive Director of Elementary Programs, and Scott McDonald, Director of IT, for the annual report of EL 4.7 technology.
Hello.
Hello, Board.
Can you hear us okay? This is my first time sitting here, so I'm a little, overwhelmed.
Scott McDonald and Karen Rush, your IT and Ed Tech team, we work together closely. We've put a presentation
Scott,
together for the
Scott,
board.
if we want to wait just a moment
yeah,
until
that's
the
what I'm
room
saying, yeah.
clears. Thank you.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just have to say, so my kid was called up to speak, and he meant to send his speaker to someone else that was here to represent him.
Yeah.
And I guess that didn't get to happen. I guess I just want to make sure, I think most of the kids here are here for the same reason. So I understand the process, and I know that you guys followed it. I just,
My question is, does the person still want to speak?
is the person here that still wants to speak?
We can still permit them to speak. We can go back. I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, we want to be fair and equitable with this. No worries. They're learning. They're learning. We understand. We get it. Yeah, most definitely. Because I think that most of the students didn't understand that they have the right to be able to pass it to someone else if someone else. Yeah. No worries. We want to hear from you. That's why. Thank you. All right. And what's your name, please, for the record, so we know exactly who you are, so we can.
Okay.
Okay.
My name is Cassidy Utes, and I'm a sophomore at Summit High School and a member of the choir program.
All right. Once let's let everyone get settled, and you can start. I want to make
Okay.
sure you get your full 2 minutes and everything.
Sorry.
Okay. No worries. That's what we're here to do. All right. All right. You're good to go. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Cassidy Utes, and I'm a sophomore at Summit High School and a member of the choir program. I'm here today on behalf of Summit Choir to ask you to reconsider the recent budget cuts that will eliminate our advanced Skyliner Jazz Choir and remove our choir director, Brian Seed, from Summit High School. These cuts would fundamentally change our program and eventually end it. Without Seed, our Summit will become the only high school in the area without a dedicated choir teacher. Our remaining choir classes will be taught by the band director rather than a trained vocal music educator. Without Skyliner Jazz, students will lose their only advanced vocal ensemble and the most meaningful opportunities for growth, leadership, and performance. If these cuts move forward, many students will leave the program altogether. The dedicated singers in the advanced choir are the foundation of the program, and losing Mr. Seed and Skyliner Jazz threatens the future of Summit Chorale as a whole. To understand why this decision is so devastating, it's important to understand the history of our program. Anyone involved in the arts in Central Oregon knows the name Melissa Jaco. She founded Summit's choir program and built it from the ground up. She created a space where every student felt welcomed, valued, and inspired. Even after being diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2022, she continued to attend performances and support her students. Earlier this year, she passed away, but her legacy lives on in all of us. Mr. Brian Seed has taken over her program and led it to the best of his ability, and she passed away knowing that it was in the best hands it could be. Our choir program has helped many students achieve extraordinary success. Some of our current seniors are attending prestigious schools such as Berkeley, NYU, Stanford, and University of North Carolina School of the Arts because of what choir has done for them. But beyond the data, I can tell you personally what choir means. Choir has given me and so many others a place where we feel like we can belong. I've seen shy freshmen become confident leaders. I've seen students find their closest friends. I've seen choir become the reason some students are excited to come to school each day. This decision is not simply about balancing a budget. It's about whether future students will have the same opportunities that we all have had. I ask you tonight to honor Mrs. Jaco's legacy, support current and future students, and reconsider the decision to eliminate Skyliner Jazz Choir and remove Mr. Seed from Summit High School. Thank you.
Thank you for you very much. Thanks for being patient and waiting. They do that. Thank you. And now Ms. Rush and Mr. McDonald.
You guys might want to take a minute before you start talking because I think a lot of people are going to get up here in a second. We're going to talk about technology if you'd like to hang out.
All right, you ready?
It's a tough follow.
I know.
I'm glad.
So, as I was saying, Scott McDonald from IT and Karen Rush from Ed Tech. And I just wanted to say that, you know, on this matter, we are a team. We presented the board half a year ago a Venn diagram that kind of shows where we overlay in the work, where IT supports with services and Ed Tech leads with innovation, vetting, you know, and the work, the work that they do. And, you know, I like to think that there's a little IT in every department, but this is a special relationship because this is where the rubber meets the road with the mission of teaching kids. And so I just really want to say I appreciate this partner and looking forward to the work we're doing now and ahead.
Great. Oh, we have a clicker?
Yes.
So I'll just kind of add to the setup of this. So tonight what you'll hear is both an executive limitation report on 4.7, which has been somewhat of the fabric of this board's reports that you receive. We were told very specifically that there were things that we wanted to hear or that this board hadn't heard in the past that we wanted to add into this tonight. So you'll see both information technology information about what has happened in the past year. You'll see Ed Tech information about what has happened in the last year. And if you all recall, at our last board meeting, there was also a resolution passed, and we have an addendum to what you'll see tonight that is in draft form. And so we're looking for feedback from this board in terms of if the information that we present tonight is matching sort of the interest that you all have in terms of what you want to see this district move forward. Many of these topics have been long-term in kind of the queue, and so some of them can be implemented very urgently, easy to be done, and some will take time and some layers of needed supports that go hand in hand with that. So that's what you'll see as you look at the addendum this evening. Take it away.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Lisa.
So, of course, we start with our vision for our students. You know, that drives our work in every domain. And so every student in Ben Lapine Schools is known by name, strengths, and needs, and graduates ready for college, career, and community engagement in life. I have to say that when I interviewed for a position here in Ben Lapine Schools and I saw this vision and I saw the promise to students, it wasn't a mission, it was a promise. It's something that really drove me to want to be a part of this school district. So I appreciate the vision and I strive to live it every day in our work. We're going to talk to start about the Ed Tech piece. This is just a statement that we have at the top of our strategic plan for educational technology. And it's the idea that we need to understand the complexities of students and their experience today, and also be thinking about their future and what is coming for them in terms of their college and their career. You know, one of our strategic initiatives, of course, is passion, purpose, and plan. And we feel really strongly that educational technology has a role to play in that, because it can support students in following their interest in things and then also preparing them for their next step, whether that's career, college, or community participation. In educational technology, our goal is to always be using the right tools at the right time to better meet the diverse needs of every student. And it's been helpful for us to be having these conversations as a community so that we can really focus in on what are those right times, what are the right tools, and how do we intentionally and purposefully use tools, technology tools, to support student learning, that's always the most important outcome. So this year, our educational technology team, we've developed 4 goals that we've been working on. I'm going to go through them pretty briefly, keeping in mind that this is work that we meet on a weekly basis. Our team meets on a weekly basis to talk about these goals and develop our progress on them. And then after our meeting, we're joined by the IT group, and we have a meeting together where we talk about the areas where we overlap and make sure that both of our goals are being met together. Our first goal is to have a more disciplined approach to our instructional applications. We've had a vetting process for our tools. There's a workflow that we go through for any requests that we get for a tool. And it involves multiple departments, including IT, in some cases legal, curriculum departments, procurement. Who else am I missing? Finance, yes. So we do have a workflow that we go through. And what we're working on right now is reviewing all of the tools that are in our library and evaluating them to make sure that they are continuing to meet our standards. And so in some cases that happens naturally. For example, if a tool that we're using stops updating their tool, we'll remove it. If there's evidence that the tool is not successful or is not operating in the way that we expect it to, that's something that we also remove. But what we're going to be doing, and we've started already, is going through and systematically looking at every single tool and re-engaging in that process of vetting that application to make sure that it meets our standards. And then if it no longer meets our standards, it will be removed. Our other goal is to establish clear, developmentally appropriate expectations for technology use in our earliest grades. In particular, we're doing a deeper dive into K2, but I think overall we're talking about K5 when we say our earliest grades. And we really just want to emphasize that those tools should be used sparingly in those grades. We understand how young learners learn best, which is through interaction with their peers and with their teachers, hands-on materials. But we are finding that there are some times when those digital tools can help reinforce skills that students are learning in those other settings, or provide them an opportunity to demonstrate their learning in a new way. We do know that there are state standards related to digital literacy skills, and so we need to make sure that those continue to be addressed across all of our grades. But we're really going to be reinforcing the expectation that we use those tools only when they are adding to the opportunity for the student to learn a particular foundational skill. Goal 3 is strengthening transparency with our families and community. And I think, I don't want to speak for you, Scott, but during our stakeholder meeting, I think that this was our biggest aha, was that families and communities and teachers and students didn't really have a strong understanding of our educational technology program and how we were using those tools. When we went to talk about JAMF parent and JAMF teacher, we had people on the committee saying, I've never heard of this tool, what is this? And so we've really, I'd say this has been a huge priority for us, is making sure that we're much more transparent and communicating with everyone about the tools that we're using and how we're using them and when we're using them and also why. So we know that that is necessary to build that trust with our community. I know across the nation, people are having this conversation now where we're really grappling with how is technology impacting us as a culture? How is it impacting students' mental health? And when there's a question about what's happening in schools, it's totally understandable that that would be challenging for parents. So we want to make sure that we're being much more transparent about that. We now have an updated website where families can go on our new website. We actually have our own in the departments. You can go to that. We've got information about our stance around technology. We have a link to the library of all the applications that we are currently making available to students. We have information about iPads in classrooms, how often we're using them, when are we using them, why. And then we also have some information about generative AI, how we are addressing it as a school district and what they might expect their child to see in the classroom.
Can I add something here? Not my slide, but I just want to add on the stakeholders meeting. One of the things that was truly a reflective learning for Karen and I, but especially me, is we have a long history in Ben Lapine of devices in students' hands going back to 2011, 2012. And at the beginning, we were really pretty good about engaging community, sharing the story, having school plans. And one of the things that, if I could just go back in time to start the stakeholder group meeting again, it would be less of the story of what we're doing and more of what, establishing a technology vision and kind of a stance around digital citizenship. What does intentional use look like? What does home look like? What is our thoughts on AI? To have a shared communication about those things, because that's what some of the other districts that are now watching us are engaging in their community, and it seems to be really, that's great for them. But honestly, where I see 2013 and the document that you guys have provided is it's a back step for us to actually do that same work with the board's backing of like, yes, this is what's important to the community, and this is our chance to have a second opportunity at that conversation.
All right, you ready?
Oh, it's my slide. So this, in goal 4, this is where the system support and IT engages with ed tech. Yes, there's a lot of things that we currently do in our filtering system and our network safeguards that, as evident of this week with Canvas, is a constantly changing and threatening environment, and we do our best to stay on top of every safety feature that we can provide. But also, we have digital citizenship lessons in Wayfinder, and there's ways that we can now, with Resolution 2013, maybe have some more teeth in that so that those lessons are seen as mandatory and those are being taught at their appropriate grade levels. PD for the tools that we have that have been in place for several years that are effective and do work. Jamf Teacher, particularly at the middle school level, moving that into the high school level where appropriate, and Apple Classroom at elementary, and in certain places where we need ad hoc groups for smaller, maybe more specialized, like a reading group or something like that. So those tools do work, they're effective, and when the devices are out, it's our hope that those tools are engaged, and when those tools are necessary, it's probably time to rack them, stack them, or pack them and have the devices not out. And yes, I am trying to get that caught on because I think it's effective. But yeah, there's time. Oh, got a nod from Jen. Fact is, there's a lot of really transformative things going on with our technology in the classrooms. And I think about things like Ignite Reading and some of the things that we really want teachers to not be fearful of using. They just need to be able to manage the devices when they're in students' hands, and we want to provide them the tools to do that properly. Finally, YouTube. It was brought up earlier in the evening. This work has been going on at middle school and elementary for some time. We're in essentially year 3 of having a tool that does allow us to list videos for students to have, if they're needed on their devices. Really, YouTube is one of those things that more than likely, if it's for a classroom discussion, perhaps it's a whole class discussion coming from the teacher's device, and we're not looking to manage how teachers instruct when they're using a tool like YouTube. But if it's going to a student device, that will be something that will take an effort from the instructional side to have it be on the students' devices. Right now, at the middle school level, there's about 6,000 YouTube videos. Nearly 1,000 of those are actually embedded in school links. So there are a lot of curriculum required videos that actually link to YouTube. So I don't want you to think that it's 6,000 Go Noodle videos that have been requested. There's a lot of really meaty things there. And when we bring this tool towards high school, we expect that load to grow 3x, who knows? There might be 30,000, 40,000. over time. But what our mission is right now, since the resolution is, we have this tool in place. What we're trying to do right now is respond to our teaching staff and trying to make this process as easy as possible to get their videos from, say, their Canvas lessons to our allowed list and not have it be an added burden for our instructors. So that's the work that's going on right now, but that tool is in place and it will be, it's ready now and it'll be ready for high school use in the upcoming school year. So.
Okay, so those are our 4 goals that we're working on. There's, of course, always ongoing work that we're doing to refine our process, but we wanted to just bring those 4 to your attention so that, and you can see that they're really well aligned with the resolution. And so it's wonderful to kind of have that, what I've been calling it, fuel behind these goals for us. So I think we're making really good progress. I'm just going to talk a little bit about data. As part of the resolution is to make sure that we share information about what's being used. This is information that we shared with our tech stakeholder group back in October. I did a little review to see if it had changed substantially. If I used May 2026, it's really not substantially different, so I just used the same. But you can see here that, and these are, I should mention, we just listed the top 10 that are in use. And what this means is that the number of students who've accessed that tool. So it doesn't really give us, the platform that we're using doesn't give us how much time students are on these tools. It just tells us how many students have accessed the tool during, and this, we did it from September to the mid-October. I also want to note that Clever is our system that students in elementary, they go into Clever, it's a single sign-on platform, so once they enter Clever, then they can enter the other things that require a sign-on. There's very little on a K-5 iPad that students are getting on that is not in Clever, so that's why it's going to be right up there at the top. And when you look at the numbers of students who have accessed those tools in elementary, it's much lower. The number is much lower for that 10th item. So after the 10th item, some of those things drop down to maybe 5 kids have accessed it because it's related to something on their individualized education plan. Then as we move up, of course, through 6th through 8th grade, we see more tools being used by more students. And then 9th through 12th grade, that there's a lot more. There are many standards related to digital literacy that are required. Many of the CTE programs extensively use technology. So you're gonna see more tools there. And they don't necessarily go into those tools through Clever. So that's why you'll see a little bit lower use of Clever in those grade levels. We noted in our meeting with our stakeholders, there was lots of conversation and concern about YouTube being one of the most used platforms. And our tool does not allow us to differentiate between, are they watching it at home, is it at school? And so I think that that absolutely contributed to the discussion and conversation about limiting YouTube access for high school students. This is just some information about Canvas, which is our learning management system. It is used in 6th through 12th grade. Many teachers have a Canvas companion to their course. This is where they will share their syllabus, assignments, information, class announcements. Students can submit their work through this platform. So you'll see a lot of use of Canvas, particularly in 9th through 12th grade. We have strong support from our teachers. We have digital learning specialists or supports team members at each of our middle and high schools that help teachers use Canvas effectively. And it's figured in quite a lot in the discussions about the standards-based instruction. We also had a lot of questions about how much time are kids spending actually on a screen. And how we define screen time is the time that a student is on an individual device, working on it individually. Because we're using the Apple platform, it's very difficult for us to count time. So what we did is a study where we asked teachers to record over a 4-week period on a daily basis how much time students were using iPads in their classroom. We selected teachers somewhat randomly and made sure that we had representation at all 19 elementary schools. So we have a diverse group of teachers, some who are maybe more they use it more. We have a Juniper teacher in the study, and so that's a tech school, so there's going to be a little bit more there. But I have lots of data from this study that I'm happy to share at another time. I just put in a couple slides that I thought you might be interested in. But you can see that it goes up as the students go up in the grades, the amount of time. And that Friday, we noticed that Friday tends to be a higher usage day. Part of that is because a lot of times teachers are doing assessments on Friday. And so there are assessments embedded into our iPads and class data, as well as playgrounds data to get assessment data for reading, and our Amplify program has some assessments. And so we do think that's partially a reason. Some of the data that I have is what's actually being used during this time, and overwhelmingly Dreambox was the most used in terms of the amount of time in a class. We also wanted to show you what's the sort of proportion of a day that would be on an individual screen. So students are in school for 390 minutes. And so this one just represents the top of the bar, that's the end of the school day. And we thought it might be just a helpful kind of look at how much time is actually spent on screens. Again, I have more data from this study that I'm happy to share. We're also doing focus groups with the teachers that participated in this study. So we have our next focus group tomorrow. That's with our middle school teachers that we did not do a screen time assessment with. But we do have a middle school focus group tomorrow, and then next week we have one with our high school teachers. We've conducted them with our elementary teachers, and it was really illuminating to hear from them what's helpful, what's not helpful, what do they need more of, what do they need less of, what kind of training and professional development do they need, and what are their concerns for students. And so that has been a really helpful part, and is work that we're doing as an extension of our stakeholder group. We learned, you know what, we really need to sit down with groups and really dig deep and hear from them. And so the plan is to engage all of the different groups that we had in the stakeholder meetings in these kind of more deep dive focus groups. All right, anything you want to add about the data?
No, we're good.
Okay. All right, so we'll just quickly run into our work moving forward, and our goals are, I don't want to read slides to you, but what we really want to do is we want to finalize that comprehensive review of the applications and identify which tools are most aligned to our instructional goals and providing meaningful outcomes for students. And that means we also want to focus and reduce or eliminate applications that are in use in the classrooms to align with that bullet above. What happens over time in a school district is that you will kind of keep adding, but you don't systematically remove. And as educational technology is improving, there are going to be tools that are better able to meet the same function as another tool. We've got overlap. We need to reduce that and focus on the most high quality tools for our teachers. We also really want to have increased consistency across classrooms through clear expectations for teachers across grade levels. So one of the things that our team is working on, and we're working with our instructional partners in secondary and elementary education, as well as student support services, is really looking at what is required, what should not, what are the uses that are inappropriate, what are the actual tools that need to be used, which ones don't need to be used and are at the discretion of the teacher, and when might a teacher want to use those tools. So we're just trying to get a lot more consistency. We've done the work with K through 5 already, where we've kind of done that deeper dive, and we will just continue that work. As I mentioned, it gets much more complicated the older our students get, because they have more tools, more platforms. Content areas have very specific tools, and so it'll take us a little while to get there, but we really are working on that. We have a one-pager that we've put together for the 6th through 8th grade, which outlines the expectations, and that's for teachers and for parents, and we'll be getting that out soon, and we also have one for our K through 5 students. We want to improve communication and transparency of our technology use and district policy and rules that apply to instructional use of technology and software. That's directly aligned with one of our goals and is certainly on that resolution. We want to make sure that we are being much more purposeful and targeted with our tools, and we want to have evidence. What we know in terms of like using evidence-based tools is we have to look at outcomes, not just what's published, but also for our students. And so our Learn platform tool is allowing us to do a look at, are the tools, if students are using these tools, do they result in the outcomes that we're wanting? And so that's just something that we've been excited to look at and was involved in some of our decision-making around Dreambox and Lexia moving forward. And then finally, we really want to monitor the student experience. We're, of course, looking at engagement, well-being, and responsible use. Those are things that we, as educators, are just as concerned about as any parent of a child. I am also a parent, and so I definitely can relate to those concerns that people have about screen time and its impact on students' emotional well-being. And so that's something that we want to continue to look at. And I have really enjoyed having the Student Voice Council members on our stakeholder group, and I'd really like to engage them more and more of them in this conversation as we move forward. Did you want to add anything from your?
I do not.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Questions?
All right, well, first, before we get started, thank you for the report. I appreciate all the hard work, and thank you for making this a priority to continue to do this, because it's something that the board really feels passionate about. But before I go to the directors, students.
Sorry, I had a quick question. So you mentioned the Canvas learning management software, which, as most of us probably already know, had an issue this weekend. And obviously no one is to blame for that. Like, it was challenging for students and teachers alike. Do we have a plan for if this happens again? Like, I get why we didn't have a plan for this time, because it had never happened before, but are we looking at a backup plan for the future?
Brendan, a lot of times you have to look at the source of where your breach is coming from. And in the past several weeks, there's been several breaches. And in different educational software systems. And we work closely with an organization called K-12-6 that allows us to have ears and eyes on things that are ongoing threats coming. And it's a place where we're sharing information that's been really helpful that we don't exactly even get from like the vendor themselves who's been breached. So these are the efforts that we have to communicate with all the good guys, because the bad guys are communicating with themselves as well. I know that doesn't directly answer how do we prevent the next one. The fact is, a lot of our systems actually did work from our endpoint protections and things like that. But these are not internal attacks. They are coming through our vendors. And I expect that you might see a few more of them. And it's my hope that we are ready for the next one.
But sorry, I was more talking about like a contingency plan, like if Canvas goes down again,
great,
what are
yeah.
we gonna do?
So now, you looked at the system guy, so I apologize to give you the system answer. That was really an interesting chain of emails from across the district on Friday. I'm sure Karen's team got as many as I did. It was really, I think, amazing to see how our teachers responded in a pinch when a screen came up on a kid's device like they did. Our teachers are pros, and they came up with things that got them through the Friday. But the emails I got were like, if this is longer, we have kids with study materials for AP tests.
Yeah.
It's, you know, there was a lot of like things that got a lot of us thinking that we hope that we'll all work together to plan, including students, taking accountability for their own, how they're holding their resources. There's things that we can all do for that, and it's my hope that we'll communicate that as we learn more in the future.
All right, thank you.
But good, thanks for the clarification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just one more question. I know that AI is a very hot topic at the moment, which is why I was kind of wondering about how you plan to increase both transparency and consistency about how AI policies are enforced and applied to different schools and staff and students as well. I know a lot of what I've heard from students at my own school as a part of the Bend High SVC is that there is some discontent with use of AI by staff, that students don't feel it's fair, and I think that there needs to be some, a little bit more information on that end just about, you know, transparency so that students are not jumping to conclusions.
Can I start?
You go.
AI literacy has been something that's been talked about both in ed tech and IT and a lot of the instructional conversations that we've been having since AI came out, particularly since ChatGPT came out in 22. I would say to you that one of the most powerful experiences I heard was the voice cancel at the stakeholder meeting, and hearing some of the things that really kind of hurt my heart when you think about our vision and some of the things about trust that were mentioned in those conversations. And I think if we are able to, you know, reframe and really have our students engage in the AI literacy conversation, we need to build trust between the instructor and the student, and it starts with that. And there's a lot of good work going on there.
Well, I don't know that I have much to add to that other than this is a conversation that we're having all the time, Dee. Like we definitely, you know, and I want to add on that the student panel that we had talking about AI, I had a teacher later come up to me and say that changed me as a teacher. It changed how I think and how I am addressing this issue in my classroom. And so I think the more we can have this conversation, we can have openness about it, because, you know, we have a policy around how we're using AI in our classrooms. And it requires a lot of disclosure on the part of students in terms of how and when they're using it. And it's on your syllabus statements. And I think your question of how, you know, our teachers disclosing how they're using AI is a fair one. And I think it's something that we need to start making a commitment to.
I'll just add also that one of the things that we have learned through this process and through the board resolution and different conversations about what is missing from our system is that we have also trained on some of these things, many of these things, with our staff and with our building leaders. But that training, like the specifics around the training and what people learned and sort of the expectations that then should come out of that, has been like, it's been assumed that that was internalized and it wasn't necessarily shared out to staff or to students and staff. And so what we've heard is that this board has a lot of interest in making sure that when we train on something, then we make sure that that exact information is available to anybody. So parents could access it, they kind of know, they're in the know, students can be in the know, and that would be available on our tech-related website. So that's a change in some of our practices. It's not just about training, but then how do we make that more transparent for the whole system?
And the one thing you gotta take into consideration too, once you get ready to go to college, it's gonna change significantly again, because the rules and restrictions behind is gonna change as well as when you get into the professional world as well. So be mindful of that too, and we got to maybe have those discussions too, of what industry looks like, and also what higher education looks like. Because working in higher education myself, I have to worry about it a lot more in a different format. So just letting you know, it's gonna be a hard conversation to have, but we're gonna have it. And so,
Yeah, thank you. I think that a little bit of clarification about your goal to increase transparency was very helpful in my understanding. So yeah, thank you.
all right, directors?
Thank you for this. I was curious about, and maybe you said you might have this somewhere else, the average daily screen time for secondary. You just included the K-5 slides. Do you have that, or is that potentially sometime in the future we could see?
Yeah, that's a goal for us in the future to try to get that information. And part of that is looking at maybe some different platforms that we're using to manage single sign-on and things like that. It's really difficult in secondary because different content areas are probably using technology in a different way. And so we want to be really careful about like if we picked a group of teachers that were very heavy tech oriented, math and science, for example, it might skew the results. And so I think we really want to try to rely on a more technology solution to that in terms of tracking that. And that's something that our team has been looking at different platforms. If Learn platform that we're currently using, if it can start collecting minutes through iOS. Right now it just does events. And so that's our challenge.
Okay, a lot of that's kind of over my head, but I'm trying to track. Looking at the applications most used, from what you've gathered, whether it's anecdotally or maybe you have data on this, YouTube being the most used for 9-12, what are they using YouTube for? Like, and I know that's like a big can of worms, but if you talk to, I mean, I feel like during COVID, totally different system. But today, what are teachers using YouTube for?
That's a really big question, and it's actually one that we're really learning a lot about as we move towards this approach of having an allow list for those YouTube videos. We're asking, how are you using it? Why is it necessary? What are the ones that, the videos that you most need? In some cases, it's embedded in curriculum. And in some, particularly in CTE and like arts and music, very much heavier use in those areas. And so we feel confident that teachers are selecting that video, the media that they're incorporating, that it's very intentional and purposeful and aligned with their curriculum. And in some cases, teachers create their own videos and they publish them on YouTube, and that's how teachers are seeing them. So there's just it's basically like YouTube is where everybody is publishing their videos. And so that's why there's a lot of videos on there that are educational.
So a couple of other examples are like, for example, in world language classes, they might have videos that are like little snippets around language, like, did you hear this exchange between these two individuals? It also could include some more kind of cultural aspects of like, what do you recognize culturally with this in this snippet of whatever. In a theater class, they have different like makeup techniques that then students are accessing after they're with their instructor, right, later to practice some of these things. So they are unique to each of the content areas. And it will definitely be, as Karen said, many of the teachers are publishing their own things that they feel like are valuable. And it will be a lift to make sure that this is curated in a way so that it's not, then YouTube isn't just feeding the next video, right? It just is that video that they're receiving. But if you're a language teacher and you have 250 videos that are unique to your content area, that's a lift.
Yeah, and I guess that's why when we're hearing feedback from the community, when it's just like completely get rid of YouTube, we're missing some of those, 2-minute direct object, indirect object, Spanish quick videos. So I guess that's where I think that could help people understand a little bit more, even if it's breakdown by, subject area, like languages or CTE, or I think when I hear the concerns, it's like across the board. And then also when I hear like our public comment, when it's what are students choosing to use YouTube for. I think that, it's really hard to unpack all that, and I know it's a huge ask, but I think the more that we can get some of that, the better people will feel to know some of that. And I know that's more to come.
And I just want to restate, Cameron, because the feedback is coming in from our teachers. Recently, I think it was 2 days ago, a math teacher from a high school, Bend High, said, I've got 82 videos in YouTube per prep, some that he's made, some that he uses, and it's kind of a way to reteach something that maybe the kids aren't doing in front of them. And so, there's people that are really coming to us to defend some of their instructional practice that uses the tool. And I've been kind of really like, I didn't think about that. That's pretty cool. And just, those are still coming in.
Yeah, I think of Khan Academy, right? So then the other question I had about the focus groups, you said somewhat randomly selected. You did say you hit every 19 schools, right? And can you say a little bit more about random selection or somewhat random?
Yeah, so essentially we just identified teachers at each grade level and reached out to them and said, are you willing to participate in this? So that's the piece where it becomes somewhat random because they self-selected into participating.
Directors?
Yeah, I have a couple. Can we talk, I'd like to talk a little bit more about JAMF. And actually, back up. I'd like to talk a little bit more about screen time. And if there's a way that we could empower parents, whether it's like we send an email or we like post a guide online, so they could inspect their kids' own device usage, see things like YouTube view history or see their screen time. Like, I know JAMF, the MDM has a parent tool. I don't know if we have it turned on or if we could turn it on, or if it's simple as like, okay, everybody like click here, then here, and see your screen time, or you know what I mean? Like, what tools do we have that could empower parents to just get a little more involved in their kids' device usage?
When Karen brought up the one pager, right now there's space on that one pager for parents on the backside. So it's our hope that we're gonna have kind of the guide of what it looks like in the classroom, and then on the back, it's what it can look like at home. And the idea of having some instructions for JAMF teacher, which personally we like more than Apple Screen Time, because it does automatically turn off in the day and allow for the instructional use of JAMF teacher to be a little more easy. So that JAMF parent tool is something that is very much something we want to encourage and communicate more. Yes, screen time does have more of the time settings and some other different features, but both those tools are available to our families and can be used. Now, measuring screen time, you can set time limits for these apps, but you're not going to get like a holistic view of, there's some things that are kind of incomplete there. And there's also some things that we're still working through on, like when an iPad times out, is that still counting in the time. And so we're still in some discovery on that ourselves.
The content that we're delivering via YouTube, like just as examples with the sort of self-created videos or whatever, is there a reason why we couldn't be using a different CMS or Vimeo or something that doesn't have sort of that poison next video feature of
Right.
YouTube? Can we afford it? Can we deploy it? Is there a way that we can still leverage all of that creativity and work on a platform that's a little less problematic?
So there is a tool, a video tool inside of Canvas, and that's really good for, there's a library of videos in there. There's also ways to create videos in there. A lot of teachers make use of that. Vimeo is, believe it or not, YouTube is allowed for students above the age of 12. Vimeo is actually 18 plus. So there is this strange, like, YouTube is the place, you know, it's in the Google Apps for education, it's there, it's just, that is a place where I think, you know, optimistically, I believe that we'll see improvements in that space from the vendor. I just hope, but there's other things that are just part of practice because it is the one that we've been able to easily access and build our own content in, and it moves with the teacher. I think there's, you know, a lot more sharing in YouTube between teacher to teacher than any other platform as well. So it's been the go-to for over a decade, and it's a hard practice to change.
And that, our practice moving forward with restricting its use will stop that delivery of the next video. So moving to a new platform completely would be as arduous as changing these URLs to be within our system that's kind of curated. So either way, there's a lift involved in this, but that is our whole reason for doing this, is to not have the next video kicked out at you.
Lisa,
but rather it's for students.
My team will really be upset if I don't explain that a little more thoroughly.
Yeah,
So
go
the
ahead.
YouTube app will no longer be on the
Right,
high
now
school
we're just
device.
we're iframing in a video, not the app, yeah, no,
Yeah,
I.
so you're not going to get the next one, you only get the content that's
Yeah,
intended. And they
okay.
have to get it through alternative source, like their Canvas course, the link in there, or a Google Classroom, or some other way to get to the link itself.
And then lastly, you know, I'm like still thinking you should recruit this like white hat student hacker team because we have so many talented student hackers. My students, and what I have heard since last week, is concern about this Canvas situation and what data could have been released. There's a concern about things I thought were private with my teacher, or things that I thought, a grade I thought was private. And the thought of that being something that is, you know, available through a leak or some other kind of hack, or even frankly accessible like at a wider audience than just between a student and teacher, made them anxious, like very anxious. Can you, maybe there could be like a postmortem about this situation, or can you, I said, well, you know, there's like this like federal law about student privacy, and I'm quite certain that the Canvas people are aware of it. And like, there's, you know, there are probably protections in place, but now could be the moment to try and help bring down some of that anxiety about what you assumed was private to you and your teacher and confidential.
I'm very sensitive to that conversation, and believe me, I've had several of them myself. At this time, I hate to give this answer, but this vendor has not been very forthcoming on details of what's been given. I would expect that he will expect some sort of meeting about what, when we learn more. The first actual engagement with Canvas staff is actually tomorrow. Perhaps we'll know more. Right now, we've engaged our insurance company. We're having that conversation as well tomorrow. We're doing everything in this organization to both find out the answer to those questions and to prevent those things from happening again.
I'll also just point out that if you paid attention to who kind of came online or started using Canvas again, our higher ed partners were quicker to say, okay, yeah, we're ready to go. And for us, we made the choice to keep sort of locked down, so to speak, for a longer duration. Now, for students and staff, of course, that's dissatisfying. And when we are when we are in charge of putting this in front of students, we have a different obligation than some of that management that occurs in a higher ed space. So while it is certainly disruptive, our team is very diligent in terms of when they are ready to allow something. And so I felt happy to defend that decision as it was coming down, and as we were receiving emails from people saying, what do you mean? Like, we need this up. So I just want to commend our team for really being safety conscious and recognizing all of sort of the legs that this impacts.
Our status.pend tool, which shows outages on different things, has never had more hits than over this weekend. And this is really our first time of using the banner to give people play-by-play through the weekend. And the conversations went all through the weekend, especially because of our kids who were testing. There was a lot of folks who were really wondering what Monday would look like. And what Monday, we wanted to get the courses available. There's a lot of things we still have yet to engage.
So I would just like to say I appreciate all the work that you all are doing to address the concerns we have here on the board and our resolution, as well as this enormous issue that is just driving a lot of anxiety with a lot of parents and students. So talk about consistency. I see that's one of your goals, and that's one of the things you're working on. And it seems to me that's probably one of the bigger issues of getting the consistency across all the classrooms, because we still hear from a lot of parents, specific issues they are having with their student, which, is probably one-off, but it's something that's creating that angst across the district. So would you say that is one of the big issues you're trying to work on?
Yes. Yeah, I think that one of the things that we really need to do is have greater clarity around our vision for educational technology, and better communication with our teachers around the tools that we have available and when they might be appropriate and when you'd want to select them, and that's professional development. We have faith that our teachers are making good decisions, and they are the ones who know their students best. However, they may not know all the resources that are available, or they may be relying on a tool that is no longer effective because they haven't been given the professional development around the tool that we would recommend that they use. And so I think that it's really us being very clear about what our goals are in that program, in educational technology, and how it should be supporting learning, not replacing teachers or replacing time with teachers, but really supporting the learning of the students. And we just are hoping to get more time in front. It's always a challenge to get time. That is the commodity that we have the least amount of. And so we're always kind of juggling that priority around that professional development. But the educational technology team is excited about the opportunity to get in front of teachers and working with them more.
So Scott, you made a statement about rack 'em and stack 'em, which I really appreciate, because that is, ultimately, I think, the culture that a lot of people want in the district, right? Because we want intentional use of technology. We don't want technology to be distracting from learning. And a lot of what we hear is that technology does distract students when it's used inappropriately and when it's used in replacement of learning that maybe could be done better, pen, paper, reading books, for example. And I know some schools have rack 'em and stack 'em policy, just kind of cultures that they've developed. Is that something you're thinking about kind of training more widely to reduce the use of screens when they're not appropriate? Can you just speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, well, rack 'em, stack 'em, and pack 'em actually shows up on our
It's on the
one-pagers.
one-pager.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then on the tech application use slides, when we look at K2, we see some adopted curriculum there, right? Like we see the Amplified Desmos, and we see the really great reading, and we see it in 3.5. We see Desmos in 6.8. But then I don't really see other adopted curriculum, right, in 9.12 at the top. And maybe that's because of variations of programs. But also in 6th grade, in 6th and 8th, we only have Desmos. Do you feel like this does reflect potential some misuse when we don't see adopted curriculum rising to our most used apps?
I think that the issue is how we're collecting this is the number of students that have accessed that tool in that time. So what you're gonna see in the 9th through 12th grade are more of the tools that they would use across multiple classes.
Okay.
So I'm just giving you the top 10.
Yep.
So Notability, of course, is up there because they are probably using Notability in several classes, where they may only be accessing that adopted math curriculum or adopted science curriculum if they're taking that science course. So that's, I think, the difference that you're gonna see in that grade level.
Yeah. One of the things I've heard from students, and how true it is, I don't know, but that they're not really assigned textbooks to read anymore, even though we have digital textbooks. And that's been one of my bugaboos the whole time I've been on the board with my own students, is that they're not being assigned books to read. They're not really being assigned much reading. Have you looked at all at are students actually reading digital text, or are we teaching more through YouTube content? Just because when we think about brain development and how students best learn, right? Reading, I think, is foundational to learning. And I do have concern with more digital tools, are students not actually reading? So if you could maybe talk about that, or if there's a way to look at that data, are students accessing digital textbooks?
So I think that I mentioned that our goal would be to be getting that information across all the grade levels. So that's a question that we would be diving into once we get into the 9th through 12th grade.
Okay, awesome. And then I appreciate you saying you're gonna do kind of deeper dive focus groups. So are you gonna also do community members and parents? Great. And then I just wanted to say I really appreciate your comment that the evidence-based is hard. And I don't know if you saw the article in the NBC today about iReady and parents pushing back on iReady. And I really hated the company. They're like, well, we can't do a randomized control trial because it would be too expensive. And I'm also kind of well, and cynically, if it didn't work, you then couldn't sell your product, right? And I think that's a problem with a lot of ed tech tools, is that they are not really, super rigorous in their research. So I just want to comment that I appreciate that that is work you are doing to actually make sure that the tools we're adopting are evidence-based, as much as we can determine that they have a positive outcome. And if they don't, then let's pass them off. So thank you.
I'll just add one comment related to the upper grades curriculum adoptions. Many times what happens at the secondary level, so when you think about an adoption at an elementary level and our teachers and their just sort of the purview of what they have to do in the classroom, they teach every content area, right? And so the curriculum ends up being totally the vehicle by which they are moving through this, unless they happen to have a very specialized skill set that takes them into more of a creative sort of area within the subject area. At our secondary levels, each of those teachers are specific experts in their subject area. And so there is an adopted curriculum. Depending on the content, there's a lot of other tools that are brought in, primary resource tools, et cetera, that become less about students engaged in the vehicle of the curriculum exactly. That happens differently at elementary. So I think this group kind of clarified that, but that's the reason, just for our public to know, that's the reason that we wouldn't see just students engage only in this curriculum. Our teachers are creating a course of curriculum that is based on the foundational spine of some of those adoptions.
And oftentimes with the textbooks, at least in our experience, my experience, sometimes the homework will be out of the textbook. So we still use the textbook, but we're not necessarily reading out of it. The only class where I actually have read out of the textbook is either a physics class or a history class.
And what I'll say is that it varies greatly how much you use a textbook class to class. There are specific courses where textbooks are really used more as a study tool for outside of class people who would like to use them. And in other classes, it is really baked into the class time using textbooks to complete assignments.
And just one comment I want to make for students going to college. A lot of professors now are making it so you can't have devices in your classes at all. Everything is pen and paper. And so that is something, like, as we talk about future ready, right? We need to make sure that, because it's a strategy at university now. You are taking all of your notes on paper and you are writing all of your papers in class. And so think about that as you use these tools, because that's also future ready, right? They're tools, but you also got to do it on your own.
And I really appreciate this discussion because I'm really glad we're having this conversation because I think we get to get the nuance out the way, like at all the different pieces. My concern is, and this is what I normally hear from students, is that a lot of teachers, and I don't know, maybe the students can speak to this, is that they're saying a lot of teachers aren't teaching, they're just giving us the Canvas assignment and then we're just doing it and that's pretty much about it. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's just telling me based on what I hear from a lot of the students I have. Secondary, high school mostly, yeah. So I want to know, maybe we can speak to that a little bit more if y'all are seeing that, or are you hearing it from friends, or what are you seeing from your perspective in that regard?
I would say that also varies greatly from class to class, as well as with class level. I think in earlier years of high school, it's much more common to get all of your work done in class and not have to rely on technology to be able to complete your assignments. But when you're taking higher level classes, AP, IB classes, you are expected to take on a little bit more work. So these students might be relying more on online resources and even resources using instructional technology that are not specifically prescribed by teachers.
At least in my experience, and my experience and like my friends, because I know their experience as well. I'm sorry, I don't fully know the complete picture. But it varies teacher to teacher, but a lot of the times where you actually have to teach yourself more is in the AP classes, because we have to run an accelerated schedule for those because other school districts get more time because they start earlier. So like we're still supported by teachers oftentimes, but like every once in a while there's like you need to teach yourself this quickly, whether it's through the textbook or it's through a Canvas module, but we still get a lot of teacher support, at least in my experience.
Okay, great, thank you. My question also to you all is that I thought Canvas was going away because I think it didn't link to Synergy, which you can't get grading out of it, so forth and so on. I thought we mostly were using it because we were in COVID. I thought once COVID was over that we were going to restrict it and actually go away from it. Is that still the concern that we're going to be doing? Right, I know they posted, besides posting, are we going away from it altogether completely? I know some colleges are starting to get away from it as well, so is that something we're thinking about doing in the future?
That's a larger discussion that would involve a lot of folks with different instructional hats. You know, we're really trying to do the very best job we can with standards-based grading and the transition, and I think the practice comes before the tool. And right now, we are very much focused on the practice. People are doing the hard work, and the tool, people will come to IT and say, this is what we need our tools to do. And that could be in Canvas, or that could be somewhere else.
And then my final question is, what kind of pushback or concerns have you got from teachers for taking YouTube away? What kind of feedback have you gotten from them in that regard?
I think what we need to do right now is just make sure that we're all doing our part to communicate some ways and strategies that YouTube works in the classroom, and some ways and strategy or things that don't work in our classroom. From the system side, I'm just losing sleep right now, as well as some other folks, about making sure that we're not adding a huge burden to our teachers and to our students for that matter. And so, you know, Vince and Chad and a few others on my team are really, they're coming to the meetings at EdTech because if there's more we can do to make that easier, we're gonna do it. But we do need to make sure that we're listening to our teachers right now, because the questions I'm getting are they're worried. They you know, hey, don't tell me how to teach,
Yeah,
Mr.
I get it.
McDonald. You're in the basement. This is the right thing I'm doing. And I want to make sure that they have their chance at the table for this.
And I feel to me, it's really important to communicate our continued trust and faith in teachers. We believe that they are the experts in their content area and in their students. And they have a responsibility to engage students in learning. And so we trust them and have faith in their choices that they're making instructionally. I think the pushback that we are getting is because, they are working really hard. And so we're hearing that, and we're meeting on a regular basis to try to figure out how to make this not as much a burden on them and more on us to facilitate that. And I just want to make sure that it's really clear when we're having this conversation about YouTube that our concern isn't teachers, it's YouTube. And their algorithms and their addictive pushing of videos. And so just make that really clear.
I think there's a layer here that I just want to comment on that's sort of similar to that, which is that, anytime that we're looking at, for example, data of this tool is used the most, there's also it could be looked at as, oh, that's used a lot, that's too much, somehow that needs to go away. But what also is happening in our classrooms is where we find that teachers or students are engaging using certain tools, they're also finding efficiencies and things that are good about using those. When a tool use goes up, that's not because teachers are abdicating their responsibilities. That's because they find use in those tools because they are experts and they are interested in the well-being of students. And so it is about us moving forward in Ben Lapine is about us finding the nexus between how do some of our kind of guardrails help teachers not have to be like police on certain things that are just a slog and really hard to handle that they shouldn't have to do, and which things start to dip too far into, whoa, this feels like you don't have trust around what I actually can do and have devoted my life to. So we're really trying to find that kind of overlapping piece to make sure that our teachers feel supported as we move forward. They recognize what is best for students too, and that any of our moves organizationally are supportive of them and students at the same time.
Cool. Thank you. Well, thank you again. Appreciate it. Thanks for the lively conversation. I appreciate it. Thank you, directors. Thank you, students. Appreciate it very, very much. Appreciate it. And now we're going to move on to Dr. Cook, and we're going to look at our board policy for adoption.
Thank you, Chair LeGrand. I just want to remind the board what's in front of you right here is, if you recall, we've spent years working on how we wanted to step into a fundraising conversation. And you saw quite a few comments, actually. I'm pretty excited. We got a lot of comments from board members. We've got a lot of comments from our community. And I want to remind you that this is the first step of much, much work. And that is, we're requesting that the board give us guidance on values that will drive all of the supporting ARs and regulations that we would then be bringing back to the board. And we could have gone the other direction. I think it makes more sense to do it this way. And so I'm hopeful that the board is willing to entertain the idea that it might be time to vote for this and to give support so that we now can be empowered to go start building the foundations of a plan that is going to start with, and I want to remind you, this starting place is about how we line up our internal systems right now. I'm guessing it'll take a good solid year or 2 years to get the support structures in place for administrative regulations and policies to ensure that the practices we have in our finance department and our schools are supporting fundraising actions, and then how we're managing student accounts. I will tell you, if there's trepidation or nerves about how do local 501(c)(3)s or groups that are like boosters and those kinds of things, that's not today's conversation. That probably won't be a conversation for some time because we're a ways away from being able to administer to that level. And so I want to put that in the room before you take this on, but I'm hopeful that the board would consider this policy for consideration.
Directors, any comments?
I'll just add that the board was grateful for the community engagement on this that went on over a long period. And I think that this is how it's supposed to work, that if the board is writing a policy, then the board's vision is well taken into account. And, you know, we chose a process that involved a lot of community engagement and feedback, and I thought that was great. So to that end, I move to approve this board policy KMCBP as presented.
I second.
We have, let me get to the motion part. All right, sorry. Okay. Getting to the last one, my bad. Where is the motion? It's not coming up. There it is. Okay, cool. Thank you. Now it comes up. All right. All right. That the co-providers. Okay, the next session. Okay, any discussion regarding the policy before we make a motion? You already made one, but do you want any other discussion? We got the first and the second. Any other discussion? My only comments about this is that I want the public to recognize that there's some gray within this, and we're just trying to make this thing as equitable as possible, because we recognize that funding for the different things can skew based on geographics, socioeconomic. We get all those things, and we're just trying to find ways to be able to get this to make it a level playing field. And I think that's the key piece of a lot of this. So I hope everybody recognizes and understands that piece. All right. So hearing no discussion, I would now call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Keena is there.
Oh, yeah, I said aye.
All right, thank you, Director Chadwick, appreciate it. All right, so as you pass unanimously, thank you very much. All right. And now, Superintendent's report, Dr. Cook.
Thank you, Chair LeGrand. I have 7 items. They'll go quick. Just a quick update on several things that are of importance. We've just finished our last round of advisory meetings. Remember what those are. Those are staff advisories. We do those every quarter, and lots of good utility, I believe. And that's a service that I think is meaningful for the district to get feedback on all kinds of things. We meet with certified staff, classified staff, and all kinds of folks. We meet with South County folks, and it's proving to be a good source of touch points for things that people are excited about or have concerns with. Second thing that I want to share with you is the Climate and Culture Task Force, which I think is in year 4 now. We continue to work hard on building better understanding on establishing those key points for our climate. In that task force meeting is May 14th from 8 to noon here in this building, in this room, and pretty excited about the work to close out the year for that group. Just a couple of things to point out. DECA International Career Development. What a great success for Bend High. Crazy how much success they had. 13 Bend High students competing at the international level. Zach Peck, top 20 in the world in, what was it, culinary services, I think was, and a shout out to DJ Whitworth and the work of that group. DECA is a pride point for this district. We do a very nice job of leading students through that opportunity. Fourth item I have is excellence in education, where we nominate our top classified individuals and certified individuals at each one of our 33 locations and departments. That's tomorrow. Love to see you there if you can make it. At 4:30 we start. There'll be light hors d'oeuvres at Mountain View High School and what? Light hors d'oeuvres. Oh my God. Oh boy, it's the mask, right? You can't speak clearly. Also, coming up in a week or two is we are going to have our open house for our new facility for Mosaic Student School-Based Health Center at Bend High, and I would love to see you there. That's May 21st. It'll be starting at 4:30, kind of a come and go as you please. So we'd love to see you there. And just a reminder, graduation season is here. It will be before our next business meeting, but after our next work session. So they start with June 4th at Mountain View High School, and we tie those up on June 9th at Realms High School. And if you remember, 3 of them on a Saturday. We'd love to pack something cold, pack something warm, and everything in between, because it's an all day. And then just last but not least, just a quick announcement that this was coming. Senate Bill 141 said all districts need to get their assessment tool. We have chosen MAPS as our interim assessment tool. I personally am extremely excited as a former MAPS connoisseur. I think we're going to get a lot of useful data to support our teachers and our students in our learning environments, and pretty excited about that implementation. A lot of good reports that's going to be. I mean, we have to spend money to get it, but I believe this is money well invested. Glad to talk about any of that if you have questions.
All right, thank you, Dr. Cook. Appreciate it very much. And now I'll open up the floor for board comments. Director Olson.
Just a comment, how much we appreciate invitations to attend end-of-the-year activities. There is no way any one of us could attend all of those activities. And obviously, we have to make some choices because some of them are conflicting. But we were so appreciate knowing about them and knowing what's going on and how we're celebrating a lot of good things that are going on in the district. So thank you, and we'll see as many of you as we can.
Thank you, Director Olson. Director Lynch.
I want to say thanks to all the students and staff from Summit High who came tonight to talk to us about the choir program there, and want to recognize the 2 students actually who didn't get to identify themselves, but who actually competed at OSAA State in choir as individuals just last week. Summit's band is also going to state this Friday, and we have state caliber music ensembles at all of our high schools that are doing excellent work, and I hope parents will continue to encourage their kids' participation in those activities. Scott Brees stole my thunder about the Summit Robotics team, and the superintendent stole my thunder about DECA, so that's it. More congrats for our students all around.
Director Tomlin.
Well, I was able to attend several of Mr. Padilla's career classes at Lapine High School the last couple of weeks, and had a chance to talk to students, but also talked about school board issues, and they were very open, and we had great conversations about cell phone use and standards-based grading and technology use. So very impressed with the students there, great group, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to go in there and mix with them for a little while. So.
Thank you. Director Fisher.
I just want to say thank you for the tech presentation, and I'm looking forward to more conversation about the resolution and EL 4.7. I also am really grateful for the number of seniors, and I'm also sad to see the number of seniors on Student Voice Council depart, and I'm looking forward to additional members come fall. I also just want to take a moment to recognize the work that went into the fundraising policy, and I know that particularly at this point in time with financial constraints and seeing other districts who have tried to navigate that, it's not an easy task. And so I appreciate Kinsey and the team to navigate that, and all those who gave input. And to consider also just the number of, unfortunately, still many inequities that exist throughout our schools in different ways. And I love the idea that arts is such an important thing, and CTE and music, and we have all these things, and I still come back to why Lapine struggles to find a world language teacher to teach in person when we have multiple languages offered at other high schools, but we can't seem to get a human being to be able to teach at Lapine Middle and High School. And so I'm hoping that some progress can be made on that, because speaking of technology and electing to learn online, I don't think we should force any of our students to meet their requirement to graduate by having to take an online course. Thank you.
Yeah, in that vein, I'm really appreciative of our students who came tonight to speak in favor of the arts. Arts, I think, are a foundational part of our education, and it is really sad to me that whenever we have budget crises, it is the thing that we cut. And also sitting in this seat, I understand why that is the thing we cut, because it is the thing we can cut, unfortunately, because we are so constrained by what we have to do. And I just want to say to the community that I hope when we are ready to go out for a levy, that permanent arts funding is part of that, because I think it is foundational, and I think it is so important to keep our kids in school, as important as CTE. And of course, CTE is something we're measured on, so we don't cut CTE, we cut singing. And it's just as important, in my opinion. And then I just want to say thank you to all of our educators. You know, last week was Teacher Appreciation Week, and I know that teachers, I hope, felt the love that we have for them and the appreciation, because they are so vital, and we literally could not do this without them. And I think every single one of us is sitting here, and every person became a teacher because you had a teacher who inspired you to love learning. And that is, you know, what's the old saying? Like, there's be nothing without teachers, because they make everything. And it is 100% true. So again, just thank you to everyone working within our system to really help support our students and our community.
Thank you, Director Tatum. Director Chadwick.
Yeah, just really want to express my appreciation to Scott and Karen and their teams for all of their work and efforts. Obviously, this is an area that is still new-ish to us and is constantly evolving, you know, which also means that the demands feels like they're always high. And I suspect can also feel like they're working with moving targets, right? And to be doing that work on behalf of, you know, almost 18,000 students. And yeah, so I just wanted to share that I really appreciate all the work that y'all are doing, and it's a lot of hard work. And the other thing that I think that I wanted to bring up, just kind of put a pin in this, but like revisiting what's going on with our sustainability efforts at Ben Lapine Schools, and also specifically searching for a sustainability person.
We have that person.
I don't want to lose sight of that.
Director Chadwick,
Yeah.
real quick, Director Chadwick, they actually hired a sustainability coordinator, just to let you know. So that person, I don't know when they start, but I know we did hire someone, correct? Yes. Okay. Actually, I think I know who it is. But anyway, just want to let you know that information.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I guess I'll just say that the last piece, Marcus and I, Director LeGrand and I will be in Atlanta this week for a leadership and educational equity educational conference, and being in Atlanta and soaking up the richness of the history and depth of the South and how it has shaped our country has been really profound. And just continuing to, you know, I appreciate this board and this cabinet for really placing an emphasis and the importance of equity in our public schools. So thank you all, cabinet, board, for all the hard work that y'all are doing in that regard.
And thank you, Director Chadwick, I appreciate it. The conference we're going to is the Courageous Leadership Conference. It's in Atlanta. The theme this year is Bridges. Bridges divides, boost your leadership, and build what's next. What it mostly consists of is basically some of the top leaders across the country, coming from CEOs to company directors to VPs, people who are all in education to be able to come together to have conversations. Is primarily with the LGBTQ, Black, Brown, like I said, all different types of lenses being able to come and have a conversation together. And I'm looking forward to it. It's a great opportunity for us to be able to engage and look at the different things we need to do when it comes to education. I'm really looking forward to it. Actually, I'm able to speak at this year's conference, so I'm looking forward to that as well, and I can't wait. Director Chadwick stole my thunder a little bit. I wanted to thank the cabinet as well, because I think sometimes we forget to thank them for all the hard work and leadership that they do, and I think we need to continue to give them their flowers while they're here, and we're going to appreciate them very much for that. Our next meeting is a work session on May 26th, and our next regular business meeting is scheduled for June 16th. With that being said, this meeting is adjourned.